18b, and I don't know which number that is, but
B1.
we're going to start with Ba'amar of Papa. So we had before Machlokes in the Mishnah between Reb Meir and Reb Yosi. The first Mishnah actually doesn't say Reb Meir's name; it's a Stam Mishnah, but we understand the Stam Mishnah is Reb Meir. And the Machlokes was regarding if you have a suffix about a Bechar, and you end up keeping that. So, or you give one to the Kohen, you keep the other one. So that one that you're keeping, you don't have to give, according to Rabbi Yosi, you don't have to give the matanas to the Kohen. And according to Rabbi Meir, you do have to give to the matanas to the Kohen. And Rabbi Meir's logic was, look, this thing could have been a Bechar. It could be it's not a Bechar. If it's a Bechar, the whole thing belongs to the Kohen. If it's not a Bechar, then the matanas belong to the Kohen, the gifts. So Menachem, the Kohen wants the matanas. And Rabbi Yosi says, no. It was as if there was an exchange. It was as if you gave this to the Kohen and he gave it back to you and he takes the other one. So that being done, that he gave it back to you, then you don't have to take matanas if you get an animal from a Kohen. Rabbi Lazar said that if there was no exchange, then everyone agrees that it's chayiv matanas. That was the last case, the last thing that he said. There was no exchange there, which even Rabbi Yosi would agree that Rabbi Yosi that says you're exempt from matanas, from giving the gifts to the Kohen. That's only when you gave one animal to the Kohen and you kept the other one because there was some sort of exchange there. It's as if the Kohen gave it back. Now we learn Amar of Papa Hakol Meidim B'Safek Meiser Shepater Min HaMatanas. Exactly the opposite. When you have Safek Meiser, everyone agrees you're exempt from matanas. Now Meiser, the way it works is that you put all the animals in the pen and they walk through the fence, and you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, if there's a mistake there, or if one jumps back, if there's a mistake in the counting, or if one jumps back into the non-counted, so the whole pen is pater. But they're all like in this limbo sort of. So, Rav Papa says everyone agrees that you're exempt from matanas. Now, Rabbi Yosi. You see, let's put it like this. What was Reb Meir's logic? Why you chayiv the matanas? He said because the Kohen comes along and says, "Mi manavshach, these matanas are mine." Either it's a bechar, so give me the whole animal. If it's not a bechar, so at least give me the matanas. The matanas. Here, the Kohen doesn't get anything from it anyway, unless it's matanas, unless it's not meiser. But if it is meiser, the Kohen doesn't get meiser. Meiser is a regular carbon; it doesn't belong to the Kohen. So he doesn't have both sides to say, Miman of Shach, you got to give me the gifts. All he has is, maybe it's not Meiser, give me the matanas. So everyone agrees he doesn't have to give him the matanas. Because could be it's Meiser, and he doesn't have to give it to him. Then it should be a carbon. But it's a suffix, so he doesn't have to. So the Gemara says, Hakol Meideman. When it says everyone agrees that you're exempt, who is that everyone agrees? Who is admitting here? They said Reb Meir, because Reb Meir usually says chayiv, if it's a doubt, that you have to give the matanas. Here he says you're exempt. The Gemara says pshita. That's obvious. Why? Because Adkan, like a mechayiv Reb Meir hasamela b'safek b'char hayol balav kain mishtei tzdadim. That's so obvious. By b'char, the kain comes along and says, look, you got to give me the matanas either way. Either it's a bechar, give me the whole animal. If it's not a bechar, give me the matanas. Aval safek meiser loy, but by safek meiser he doesn't have that claim. So of course, what is Rav Papa coming along to say that Reb Meir admits? Reb Meir wasn't even discussing a case like this where the Kohen doesn't have a miman of shach. Umar says no.
Bechor also he doesn't have it. It's a korban.
With a mum.
Oh, we're talking about with a mum?
Well, you're going to have to, even if it's a carbon, you give it to the Kohen and the Kohen gives it to brings it. That
So
Kohen
Meiser
needs it.
also.
No, but that Meiser doesn't go to a Kohen. The Meiser is a regular carbon that's eaten by the Bailam. Bechor is eaten by the Kohenim if it's a carbon. So it's a different ownership.
Okay.
So the Gemara says that we thought we knew the full logic of Reb Meir, but it's possible that there's one piece of Reb Meir's logic that we didn't get. And that is, Mao de Tema, what might we have said? Time of the Reb Meir like Tistakach Teres Matanis. Reb Meir's logic could have been is that there's like this rabbinic enactment that we don't want to just neglect matanas. You neglect it here, you neglect it there. You don't give matanas in this case, in that case. People are going to stop giving matanas. So we institute matanas, the gifts to the kayin, the Zreil HaChayim, and the keva, those three parts of the animal. We institute it even in cases where it's not necessarily obligatory. So that could have been Reb Meir's logic, that over here, the Bechor, the Suffolk Bechor, the one goes to the kayin, the other one, we don't want you to forget matanas. We put that in place, maybe like chalas chutzlaretz or something. Where it's all a rabbinic thing. It's not a real claim to it. It's just we don't want to forget about it, so we put it in. So if that's the case, then we'd put it into the Suffolk Meiser as well. I feel a Suffolk Meiser nami. So Kamash Milan, the Papa's coming to tell me that that's not Reb Meir's logic. Reb Meir's logic is not that we don't want to forget about matanas, so we enacted, we imposed the matanas gift on this person that he has to give it to the kayin. So that's a chiddush that Rav Papa is telling us, that Reb Meir only has one logic here. Why? Because it's the kayin comes from both sides. He doesn't have the logic that we don't want to forget about matanas. The Gemara says, could you have said that anyway? You couldn't have said that anyway. If you look at the next Mishnah that we didn't learn yet, but the next Mishnah says, there's a discussion about if the kayin gets something and gives it, and is it considered that the kayin's getting these animals and giving one back, and the kayin is the one that's making this arrangement? Which one goes to him, which one goes back? Or not? Or we consider that you're just giving the kayin one and you kept the other one, and the other one should be chayiv in matanas, because the kayin has that double claim. Now, if there's a discussion here about if the kayin is the one that's doing the whole exchanging here, and then he's going to be exempt from matanis. That's Rabbi Yossi's opinion. But Reb Meir holds that that's not that it's not the kayin that's doing the exchange. Then we understand why Rabbi Yossi brings that logic, because that's what they're arguing over. They're arguing over that logic. Is the kayin the one that's doing the exchanging, and then he's exempt, or not? Reb Meir holds no. But if Reb Meir holds that there's a rabbinic decree, so why are you telling me Rabbi Yossi's logic about? Because the kayin is the one that's doing doing the exchange, and therefore the person that receives the animal back is exempt. Reb Meir doesn't argue with that. Reb Meir has his own thing. Reb Meir says that we don't want to forget about matanas. In other words, the point of conflict is not being discussed. If the conflict is over, is there a rabbinic decree here? So in other words, what we're just doing is we tried to say that maybe Reb Meir has two reasons why he should be chayiv in matanas. One is because of a rabbinic decree, and the other one is because, manavshach, either the animal's mine all, or it's at least mine matanas, or at least the matanas. So those two decrees, and Rav Papa's coming along and saying, no, it's only one reason. It's not because of any decree. So then the Gemara says, but we never thought that it was two decrees, because we have clearly their discussion in the Mishnah, and they don't mention anything about a rabbinic decree. Their discussion is only over if how the exchange was done. The Gemara says, Ma'od the Tema. I could have said that Reb Meir afilu safek meiser mechayev. That Reb Meir would have said that you're chayev even by meiser to give the matanas. V'hadim miflegi bechalipin. So why was there a point of conflict over the exchange? Like Diacha Koiche de Rabbi Yossi. It's coming to give you the strength of Rabbi Yossi's leniency. The Potter afilu hecha the kain balav mishnei sadim kamash malan. Rabbi Yossi.
Chalifin means with a bechor.
When I have chalipin is a term that's being used when I have two animals. One goes to the kayin, and one stays with the owner because of that suffix. So then, and Rabbi Yossi's logic is that it's as if both went to the kayin and the kayin gave one back, and then you're exempt from matanas. It's as if the kayin was the one in charge of this exchange. So, and then he's exempt from matanas. That's Rabbi Yossi's logic. So it's coming to tell me that.
Is there anything besides bechor that you would exchange like an animal? I think it's only bechor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's only bechor by two animals.
Right.
That's not bechor by
Right,
one
yeah,
animal.
yeah.
So I could have thought that Reb Meir really holds that Yechayev by Safek Meiser as well. Why? Because of the decree that we don't want to forget about Matanis. So why were they arguing about Chalipin? Chalipin has nothing to do with Reb Meir's decree that we don't want to forget about Matanis. So it's coming to tell me how lenient Rabbi Yossi is, that even in a case that the Kayan has a double claim, Mimanavshach give it to me, Rabbi Yossi is still lenient. That's what we're bringing about with the Chalipin. Because Rabbi Meir holds at Yechayev anyway. We're trying to give you Rabbi Yossi's logic that was unclear. So, but really the discussion between Rabbi Meir would have responded differently, but Rabbi Meir would have responded that you're always chayev because we don't want to forget about matanis. Okay, so all of this was a discussion about meiser, that he's exempt from matanis if there's a doubt in the meiser. And we said that this was quite obvious. And what we did was we said why it wouldn't have been obvious. But then it comes out that it's correct anyway. So it's all what we could have thought. Why, if Rav Papa wouldn't have said this, we could have thought differently. Okay, Meis Echad Miam, if one of the two animals die, that one of them is supposed to be a Bechor, so Reb Tarfon Aimer Yachlaker. Reb Tarfon says you divide it. Now, Reb Tarfon didn't say that originally. Reb Tarfon originally says that Bayur La Yafa, the Kayan takes the better one. Over here, all of a sudden one dies, and Reb Tarfon says that you divide it. So Mayach Laiku. The Gemara asks, why do you divide it? Nechsei shamin mis, then the kayinu. Let's see. Did the fat one die? Then that was the kayin. The Tarfon says the kayin takes the better one. V'hai the ikka l'balabayas, and the one that's remaining belongs to the owner. Be kachash mis, but if the weaker one died, so the balabay the kachash mis, then the balabayas missed, and that was the owners that died, the homeowner. The v'hai and the one that's remaining alive is the kayinu. That belongs to the kayinu. Just look at which one's fatter, because that's what Reb Tarfon held. Tarfon held you always give the better one to the kayin. All of a sudden one dies, and then you divide it up. This is like I can see this with children fighting over the larger piece of cake, and then one of them falls on the floor. And then so he said, no, you wanted the bigger one, that one was yours. And he says, no, let's divide it. The smaller one, right? So that's not fair. This is Amar Rabbi Chazabei Reb Tarfon. Reb Tarfon changed his opinion. And it's interesting that the beginning of the Mishnah has Reb Tarfon's early opinion. And then because Mishnah Rishayna Leizazim Im Kaima, that we never change the Mishnah. We just add onto it layers. Which is very interesting. Possibly one of the reasons for this, why do we have the Chesuri Mechzer V'Achitani, why is the Mishnah never edited and all of that, is because Rabbi wasn't really meant to write down the Mishnayos. Because Torah Shebal Peh wasn't supposed to be written, it's supposed to be something specifically for the Jews. It's our oral tradition. You write it down, it goes there. So it was kept in a way that it's not 100% explained. In others, even though it was written, but it's not perfectly written. So it's kept like that.
I think that once you start changing the first one, it opens up opportunities to change as you please. This was a mistake. So you don't change it. If you want to add to it, fine, but the foundation doesn't change.
I heard a nice thing that Rabbi wasn't supposed to write down the Mishnayos. I heard from Moshe, who comes to Miami Beach, from Tarvadas. Yisrael, what's his name? Wolfson, yeah. So he said that it says that we weren't allowed to write the Mishnayos down, but Rabbi came along. He said the time we have to write it, or else we're going to forget it. So what gave Rabbi this strength? So it says that Rabbi was given a bris. There was a time, I think it was Hadrian, that forbade any circumcision. So on the way, they switched. On the way with Antoninus, they switched babies. And Rebbe stayed with Antoninus's parents. And Antoninus went along and they saw, he wasn't circumcised. While Rebbe was there, he drank the milk from Antoninus' parents. That chalav hakum that he drank gave him the strength to go against, to violate the Torah, to be able to write the Mishnayos, because Eis Lasis Lashem Eithir Teresecha.
I would rather say that since up until that time it was all Torah Shabbat, everything was oral. When they said Eis Lasos, he spelled it with a tet, was a pen.
Very nice.
All right?
Very
he
nice.
wrote it down.
I hear you.
Eis Lasos.
I hear you. Very good.
It's a polish.
Okay.
The other one was fine, so this was a polish.
No, it's like Ishbitz. The Ishbitz. Okay. Rabbi Kiva Eimer. Rabbi Kiva says, Hamaitz mechaver levaraya.
You couldn't resist talking, huh?
Rabbi Kiva says, Hamaitzi, that if one dies, so then it belongs to the owner, and the Kayan wants it. Bring a proof that the living one is yours. Right?
Come on.
Amr Rab Chia. Rab Chia says, again, we get thrown back into Bava Metzia now. Mashal de Reb Tarfon Lamad Avadayma. Reb Tarfon, according to Reb Tarfon, what is this comparable to? See, Reb Tarfon says that you divide it. He says, L'shnaim shef kidu eitzel raya. Two people gave an item, an animal, to a shepherd to watch. The shepherd now has two animals. One of them dies, so he doesn't know which one dies. So the shepherd's going to give the animal back, but he doesn't know who it belongs to. So he says, "Look, I don't know who it belongs to." He says, "Go divide it." I don't know whose it is. It's your thing to divide. So that's what Reb Tarfon's doing. Mashal de Rabbi Kiva. What is Rabbi Kiva doing? Lamad Davadaima. What is this comparable to? That one person gives an item to the balabayas, and an animal, let's say, and it goes into the herd of the balabayas, and then one of the animals in the herd dies. So the balabayas says, "Yeah, it was yours. Prove it that it wasn't yours." So you want to get it back? Prove it that it wasn't your animal that died. Ella b'may pligi. So the Gemara says, if that's the case, they're both right. Reb Tarfon's right. That's what you do in that case. And Rabbi Kiva's right. Rabbi Kiva palag b'shnaim shevkidu eitzel roya sheminich roya mistalik. Reb Tarfon palag b'echad shevkid eitzel balabayas. What are you going to say, that they argue about what to do in those cases? Rabbi Kiva doesn't argue with Reb Tarfon about that. And Reb Tarfon doesn't argue about Rabbi Kiva. If two people gave an item, and one of them is lost, you don't know whose it is, so they're going to divide it amongst themselves. And if one person gives an item, he's not going to be able to get it back if possibly one of the items. So what's the argument here? Because they're arguing about a bechor, a firstborn animal, that in this that we don't know which of these two animals was the firstborn animal, and one of these two dies. So Reb Tarfon says that you divide the remaining one, and Rabbi Kiva says that you don't give anything because the kohen has to prove that it's his. And each one gives this example, which those examples they both agree with. So there's got to be arguing about the comparison. How are we comparing it to that? So Amar Rava says, V'itema Rav Papa, and some say that it was Rav Papa. Rav Papa was a main student of Rava, so it was many times we don't know who said it. It was a Rava or Rav Papa. Hakol Maidim, everyone agrees. B'shnaim shefkidu eitzel raya, sheminiach raya b'neim mistalik. Everyone agrees. Two people gave an animal to a shepherd. The shepherd just says, "Look, go fight it out, divide it." If one person gives and the animal dies, or one of the animals in the herd, that the person that wants his animal needs to prove that it's his animal, that it wasn't his animal. The machlekes Rabbi Kiva and Reb Tarfon is only ela b'chatzer balabayas v'reya kayan. Very interesting. We have a courtyard that belongs to the homeowner, but the shepherd, conveniently, is a kohen. The shepherd of the herd is a kohen. So the shepherd is going in and out of the owner's backyard, of the owner's pen. So Reb Tarfon holds, Akmei kamakni le b'chatzerei, v'nichale de l'saved mitzvah b'mamayne, v'havle kishnaim shefkidu eitzel roya sheminiach roya b'neim mistalik. Tarfon looks at it that you really have two people here that took ownership. The owner of this property is willing to lend his property to be used as a kinyan to the kohen because he wants the kohen to get the bechor. So the kohen is acquiring the bechor when it's born in the property that he has some sort of rights to. He has the rights to walk in and out. He has the rights to use it. He's using the property. He's taking the animals in and out. So that workplace is enough his that he can acquire in his workplace. He can acquire the bechor. So now I have two owners. I have the kohen as an owner, and I have the Bais as an owner. Rabbi Tarfon says it's going to be divided.
It's like he made it into a Carmelist.
Yeah, something like that, where you can take
to
use it. Is that the simta? Is that the tzidei rishus rabim? It's called where you make a kinyan. Is that the Rabbi Kiva Savar Kivan the Eily Pseida? Rabbi Kiva holds that no. He could use the property, but not to the detriment of the homeowner. And over here, when by using the property to make a kinyan, to acquire the bechor, that the homeowner is losing out. The homeowner is giving him rights, and he wants him to do mitzvahs in his property, but not to his detriment. So, even this he's not giving him anything. It's like there's one person that gave to the homeowner something to watch. The kohen doesn't have any ownership here. You want to get the animal? Prove it that your animal is the one that remained alive.
What does the Gemara assume here that he acquires it without making a kinyan? The Kohen. Because we learned earlier, even in this Gemara, that even if you paid for something, which could be equivalent to having the right to take it, it's not yours until you make a kinyan.
Right.
And here we're acting like it's already his.
There is a type of kinyan chatzar. If something's in your property, if the property is guarded, it's considered yours.
So it works for this very last example when he's the shepherd, maybe.
Right.
But everything else.
Now, in all the other cases, the kohen would have to. We were assuming in all the cases that the kohen never owned it.
He never touched it.
Right. It has to go to him. Now, all of a sudden, they're dividing it. The remaining animals. So why should that be? So we're saying that it's only in one instance where the kohen is a shepherd, and it could be that he does have some ownership to it because of those rights that he has to use the property. In any other case, we won't say that. That's what's coming out. It's a big discussion here in Taisvus. If you really say you divide it in those cases. Okay. The next Mishnah is a continuation from the previous Mishnah. There's actually a total of 3 cases here. The first case was a sheep that never had a firstborn yet. And then we had all these complications. It has one offspring, it has 2 offspring, it has a male and a female. We don't know which one was first. We had all those come. The next case is if I have 2 sheep that never had offspring, and now I walk in and there's 2 male animals. Well, they're both pregnant. Well, shneim l'kayin, they're both going to go to the kayin. But let's say,
why does the owner say, prove to me that they were both each one and one? Maybe it was from 2 and the other one had a miscarriage or something.
You could see something. If there's nothing there, 2 pregnant and all of a sudden 2 born, it's got to be from those 2 pregnant. The miscarriages just disappear into thin air, and all of a sudden there's another male in there.
Animals ate it.
Animals eat the placenta, maybe.
Yeah. So that's what the Mishnah is saying.
You're going to say there was twins?
No. Yeah, that's what the Mishnah is saying is that when you have 2 pregnant and 2 babies, and now both are not pregnant, you assume that one came from each, and each one is a bechor. Zachar and Nekeva. let's say one's a male and one's a female. So then hazacha l'kayin. Quite obvious. Shnei zecharim unekeva. Say two males and one female. This is getting interesting. Echad loy v'echad l'kayin. One he keeps, one to the kayin. Why? Because we assume that one of them could have been. We suspect that one of the firstborns was the female. Reb Tarfon Aimer Akayin Bar Le'asayafer. Tarfon says that when you have this case, you have two males to choose from. Which one do you give to the kayin? Tarfon says that the kayin takes the better one. Rabbi Kiva says the kayin takes the weaker one, and Mishamnim, what they argue over is that better fat. That the
This Reb Tarfon is the beginning Reb Tarfon or the end Reb Tarfon?
Yes, it's the beginning Reb Tarfon. The Bar Le'asayafer. Because we're going to have the end of Tarfon in a minute. And Reb Tarfon I'm year actually Sheni year actually stuff. And the second one gets a you wait till it gets a mum, and that belongs to the owner. Now, with the same discussion like before, v'chayev matanos, the second animal, you have to, when you slaughter it, which belongs to the homeowner, you have to give the gifts to the kayin because it's not a bechor, or if it is a bechor, then you give the whole animal. If it's not a bechor, then you give at least the gifts. Rabbi Yossi Paiter. Rabbi Yossi says you're exempt, like we explained before, that it's as if the kayin gave it back. Let's say one of these male animals die. Reb Tarfon am yachleiku. Here is the second Reb Tarfon. Tarfon says you divide it. Rabbi Kiva the owner keeps it, and if the kayin can prove that it wasn't his animal that died, then he would get it. Two females were given birth, and one male. So let's say there were four. Two males and two females. Inkan l'kayin klum. Kayin doesn't get anything. Achas bikra v'achas loy bikra. One mother here already had a firstborn, and one didn't have a firstborn. V'yolda shnei zecharim. V'yoldu shnei zecharim. And they gave birth to two males. Echad loy v'echad l'kayin. One obviously belongs to the kayin because one is from the animal that didn't have a firstborn yet. It's the firstborn. Reb Tarfon says the kayin takes the better one. Rabbi Kiva Meshamnim Menachem. Rabbi Kiva says that the kayin takes the weaker one, and they argue over the extra. And the second animal just waits till it gets a mum. The second animal is chayav matanis. Rabbi Yossi Paiter. Rabbi Yossi Aimer. This is what we quoted before to prove that what Reb Meir's logic is. Rabbi Yossi says, Rabbi Yossi Aimer, kol shechalifa biad kayin patim min matanis. Whenever the exchanged animal is in the hands of the kayan, then the animal that remains in the hands of the owner is exempt from matanis because it's as if the kayan gave that animal back. Rab Meir mechayev. Rab Meir says yechayev. Meisechad miyam. If one of these animals die, again it was achas bikra v'achas loy bikra, and there's two males here. Reb Tarfon yachleiku. Reb Kiva mitzvah mechaver levaraya. Let's say there was Zachar and a Keva. Let's say there was a male and a female. One of them already had children before. One of them didn't. If the male came out from the one that's, if the male's the firstborn from that animal, then it should go to the kayin. But it could be it's the female that came out from that one. The male came from the other one. So ein kan l'kayin klum. The kayin doesn't get anything. Now, this was a little bit repetitive because it's all the same logic three times. So the Gemara says tzricha was necessary to do this three times. The Yashmin and Kamaisa, because if it would only tell us the first case, which is the previous Mishnah, Bahikam Rabbi Akiva, that Mishnah Rabbi Akiva said that the kain gets the weaker one, because Trei Mechada, two animals came out from one animal.
Twins.
They were twins. So how can you say which one? The kain's going to get the weaker one. Aval rechelav shlei bikru. But if I have two animals, in that case, the trei mechada, v'chad mechada, one of them came out alone. One of them doesn't have a twin, and one of them came out. One of them is an only child, and one of them is a twin. So, Reb Tarfon, maybe he would agree to Reb Tarfon, that only child is fatter. And so therefore Rabbi Kiva would agree with Reb Tarfon in a case where there were two animals and they both gave birth, and one of them only had one child. Maybe that one child is a nice plump child, and really the Kohen gets the better one in that case. Because when did Rabbi Kiva say the Kohen gets the weaker one? When they were twins. Yeah, they come out scrawny twins. They come out what's it called when they come early?
Preemies.
Yeah, premature. They come premature, so you give the Kohen the smaller one.
But if they're identical twins,
Right.
there is no larger and one smaller.
Right, so maybe they're not identical.
But that would be the only case. Because if it is identical, you really have a
Does
problem.
identical mean they're the same size?
They're
the same...
identical. I mean, the only reason they're not the same size, assuming they're not paternal twins, a boy and a girl, or just twins from another, is because of one steals from the placental blood from the other.
Right.
Now, I won't go there.
Right.
I'm saying otherwise
No, let's go
they
there.
should be identical.
Let's go there. They're not identical because one stole from the
All
placenta,
right.
one's
Then one
more
is larger.
Healthier. So
I can't say anymore, sorry.
V'yashminan baha, v'yashmin ha. And if it would only teach me if it was only the second case, so baha kam Rabbi Kiva. Over here, Rabbi Kiva says that you divide it, or rather, that the Kohen gets the weaker one. The tavayo lebikru, because neither of them had offspring before. Avalachas bikra v'achas lebikra. In the final case, the yoldishnei zecharim. One had a child before and one didn't have a child before. Maybe in that case, he would agree to Reb Tarfon that firstborn child, which one's the Kohen going to get? From the one that didn't have a child yet. That firstborn child is going to be the real healthy one. That's going to be, the other one is coming out, they already had a bunch of children, the mother's weak, and after all of those children. So the children are going to come out weak. So the Kohen is not taking from those anyway. The Kohen's only taking from the firstborn. So the firstborn, maybe we would say that should be stronger and healthier. So it comes along, Rabbi Kiva says no. He gets the Kohen gets the weaker
So
one.
you can't prove which one is healthy and which one's weak.
Right, because of these small. You have to read the book. The place in the family. They have these things that tell you your personality based on where you are and your amongst your siblings.
Like the
Your
middle
first day.
child
The
syndrome.
middle child, the size
Sandwich strong.
Okay. There's a little bit of a complexity in this discussion, the following discussion, and the reason is because when we speak about firstborn could have different meanings. It could be naturally it's just the firstborn, that one that opens the womb, and we know that it needs to be a male, so that's easy. But there's